they want us to date in Roblox.
Yeah, so... Good morning, Matt.
Oh, good morning, Will.
And good morning to all of you.
Welcome to Extra Breakfast, the only internet gaming talk show where we talk about this week's gaming and or tech news, but also that we're constantly just reinventing ourselves. You know,
That's right.
We are just at the pinnacle of animated kitchenette talk show technology. And I feel as though we would be doing the breakfast verse a disservice if we weren't always constantly iterating. Yeah, what? Oh, like you haven't written your breakfast verse fanfic. Okay, Will. Listen, Will's trying to act all, look at you. What are you doing?
Anyway, yeah, that's right, Matt. Totally. On a completely unrelated note, what?
We're That's where you're supposed to chime in and talk about the slight formatting difference.
Oh, that's right. You mean how we're going to be doing this as a top 5 asterisk list?
That's right. This week, we're trying an experiment.
Okay.
We have, through the most scientific of methods, we've brought in experts from around the globe.
I'm the expert. Uh-huh.
One expert from around where Will lives.
That's more accurate.
And he's presented his finding to a panel of savants and just intellectual Liu Kangs, if you will.
One Matt located from where Matt lives.
It does. I do have the same initials as Mortal Kombat. And then I have approved this list, and we have the definitive list of the top 5 most important stories.
They're asterisk.
No asterisk. Get those asterisks out of there. I challenge anyone to dispute this list of the most important gaming stories of the week. That goes for you too, chat, or Brad, or Janet, or Rocky. Yep. Hi, everyone watching on YouTube later and Nebula later. Hello. This is live. What is... Wow. I was like, hey, what are people saying in chat? And this is what I got. Metal Krol back.
I also like the idea of Russian nestling asterisks. They're just piled inside of each other. It's like exponential asterisks, right?
Sure.
Each one is raised to the next asterisk power. It's great. I love this.
Side note, real quick before we start, the new guy's comment did just make me think of this. I hope you all did enjoy last week. Let me tell you something, brother. When we had our Design Club Live panel over at PAX West.
Yeah.
And Jasmine, I don't know how this came across on the stream, but Jasmine had to run out for a second and run back in, that bronze girl, and she basically came in, I made a joke before, like, she has to come back like a wrestler, like, busting into a scene, and then she came back doing, like, Macho Man impressions and, like, came up and, like, I don't know, I just very much enjoyed that moment.
It landed really well. I really enjoyed getting to watch the panel.
So silly.
And bring all of Twitch chat along. Yeah, if you're not familiar, if you can't make it to PAX, most of our panels up to this point, at least, no promises for the future, but probably, have been broadcast on one of the PAX Twitch networks.
I think the VODs are probably still up on PAX 2.
They are, I believe, and generally speaking, I actually found the video that they uploaded to YouTube of one of the panels from, like, years ago.
Oh, nice.
When I was looking for something about this panel so that I could give people information. So I'm usually, if I'm not there, I'm in chat. So yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've got a lovely show for you this week. Let's start with the things that didn't quite make the top 5 list.
That's right. Lightning round stories, Will. Let's go.
That's right. All right, so we're gonna kind of make a sandwich here because we got 2 Nintendo stories and 1 not Nintendo story.
And it's very important that one is in the middle, as Will has joked in the pre-show.
That's correct.
Nintendo and mystery something in the middle, but they'd be real happy with the positioning.
That's correct. So first off, Nintendo has announced that they will not be releasing a DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. which I'm not really I'm not like horrendously surprised, but I am feeling like that's them leaving a bunch of money on the table, which is kind of unlike Nintendo. Like,
is it though? I think that's very like Nintendo to leave money on the table. Nintendo's one of the only large like groups in the space that every once in a while will not be driven. But whether or not it is on purpose, like trying to, you know, maintain the desires of their devs and make sure that the studio is healthy or whatever, or just sort of like, I don't want to say ineptitude, but just like not looking where the money could be. But like they do seem to leave a bunch of stuff. Like I'm very happy that there's no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom.
I am as well.
I think it's a very specific position of this game is basically, I mean, there's so much more to it to not, I don't want to call Tears just DLC for breath, but like, it's an expansion of it, no doubt. It's the same map adjusted. It's got the two top and bottoms. Like, it feels like it's already the special edition of what was there before in certain ways, or it's such a direct continuation that, like, I don't know, what else do I want in it? Like, yeah. I'd rather, and it seems as though...
A motorcycle? Obviously.
Can you still use your old motorcycle from the old game if you have it?
I don't know. I think some of the amiibos work, but I don't know about the Master Cycle from the DLC.
Did the Master Cycle work like a horse? Like, did you put it in your stable?
No, it was like a special summon.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I was gonna say, because you could bring your horses over.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which was really, really great.
Yeah, and Grass has a very good point, which is you could just build a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Which does render it somewhat pointless. Like the whole the community has a surefire method for creating an on-center hover bike now. The problem was before that hover bikes could wobble, and now the community's come up with a way to ensure that your hover bike doesn't wobble every time.
There we go.
Very cool. So,
I'm happy about this. And they were saying basically, what was the quote? This is a translated quote from Google, but it says basically that I feel like we've done everything we can do to create a fun in that world, and they're just excited to move on. And I think that's cool. Bring on the next iteration of Zelda. I'll be playing this one for the better part of the next 2 years.
That seems correct. I do need to go back and finish it at some point. I've done all of the dungeons, so I got to go into the end game at some point. So,
all right.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of things that want to be in the middle of everything. So it turns out that your character in Baldur's Gate doesn't have quite as much riz as it seemed like. It turns out that at launch they made a small goof, a small faux pas, a little itty bitty whoopsie poopsie, and all of the companions in Baldur's Gate were far more amorous at launch than intended.
Thirsty. Just parched beyond belief.
Just insert a gif of that guy just like pouring a pitcher of lemonade like down his. A little a sousson of thirst. Yeah, that's correct. So I really like that they've owned this. That they were like, yeah, they're not all supposed to be all over you the entire time.
It did happen. So we have our characters on stream, and I'm not playing them off stream, but I have tried like 9 other characters, and 2 or 3 of the companions have like come on way too strong, way too quick. And I was like, didn't I just get like 3 dislikes with you? Like, why are why is this happening?
Well,
must be my tiefling's jaunty mustache.
So, Matt, do you know that people will speedrun anything?
Yes. Yes.
Did you know that people were speeding get laid % on Baldur's Gate 3?
Sure. Makes sense.
Do you want to guess what the time for the world record for get laid % on launch edition of Baldur's Gate 3 was?
Before the thirst quench patch?
Before the thirst quench patch.
Oh, I don't know, like 15 minutes maybe?
3.5 with Lae'zel.
Yeah, she came on pretty strong.
Right, yeah. So
it's funny. I'm not gonna say for wait, is it? I think it is. I'm not gonna say what sponsor read coming up that we have, but I will say that there is a reference to me saving time with a wonderful product so I can spend more time trying to romance Lizelle.
Hashtag this video not sponsored, others maybe.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, cool. So that's getting patched. So
3.5 minutes is insane.
It's just not. It's not slow.
Anyway, they've patched it, so your game is now in check. Everyone, just try talking, try talking more. Be more of yourself. Don't rush into things.
Exactly, 100%. All right, let's talk about our other Nintendo story, which concerns not these exact little doohickeys, but something very like them.
Yeah.
This week, Nintendo filed a patent for a new style of joystick.
This is cool.
That's based on the Hall effect. And the basic idea is that, and this is coming to us from Go Nintendo. I've read a couple of other articles on this, but the whole idea is that they're reducing the number of physically contacting components in joysticks. So the whole idea of this is that it will make it a little easier to register precise inputs and to minimize the overall amount of drift.
Yeah, basically, it's the way the and I don't fully understand it. I was just reading up on it this morning, but it's basically uses magnets as opposed to less physical touching parts. So your joystick starts drifting because the parts grind against each other, no matter how smooth they are, and it will eventually make to dead spots. Where this apparently uses, and I'm trying to figure it out. There's the gaming setup has a really good article on the Hall effect. We could put it in the show notes. Yeah. Sort of like what that means and how it works. The interesting thing though is it's not perfect, but it's way better.
Yep.
So like these will eventually drift and change as well due to I think they were talking about like high temperature shifts or like a couple other things, but the time period where like regular joystick drift can happen within like months of regular to rigorous use. These take like 10 to 15 times longer. Yep. So I like, even though, again, as a reminder, Nintendo putting a patent down for something that does joystick technology like this does not mean they'll ever make one. Right. However, it is very interesting and nice to see that the company that has had some of the most drift problems in their current gen console is now looking at least at ways to mitigate that in the future. Yeah,
people have surmised that this might have to do with an upcoming story that we'll be covering in just a little bit. So,
but at what number?
At what number, Matt? For we must begin, as all top 5 lists do,
with the least important story in all of gaming this week.
Well, it still made the top 5.
The least important of the gaming stories in our top 5 this week.
That's right, curated by our panel of expert.
Our panel of expert and cross-examined by a series of expert.
Singular expert. All right.
I was going to say genius, and then I realized that's not true.
We're just talkie boys on the internet. It's fine. Yeah. All right. So, least important of our
number
top 5. Number 5 will shock you probably because it's Starfield. Now,
hi Starfield.
We would be not two talkie boys talking about video games on the internet if we didn't talk about Starfield.
That's right.
But also,
so we're talking about Starfield,
right?
Because it came out last week, ish.
It came out over a long period of time. I think it took longer to come out than I did. Zing!
All right. All right.
Oh.
Someone get Todd on the phone.
That was pretty good.
That was good.
I was pretty happy with that one. So, disclaimer. Matt, have you played Starfield?
I have not.
I have also not played Starfield. So we're not going to talk about Starfield so much as we're going to talk about people talking about Starfield.
Right, because there's a lot of different stories going out. This is obviously the biggest game launch of a time period around last week.
That's right.
There's just a lot. Like mods are already pouring out for it. There was one that let people start to sort of block the what was it? Because this is an AMD tied game. Like they're like they basically like AMD paid a bunch of money to like have it run specifically better or so. I forget. I don't know the exact deal. It's not important. But someone basically, I believe, I want to find the right modder. This comes to us from Kotaku. Pure Dark basically did a Starfield upscaler, which updates the way I can use FSR2 support with DLSS and XESS support as well. So like it was free, and then they put it behind a paywall, and then there's the whole conversation of like mods versus paying for them versus like there's all that stuff. So you got that angle of Starfield.
Yep.
You got the memification of it where people from Bethesda are writing fictitious doctor's notes once again to any authority figure to let them have the day off to play Starfield.
Right.
Always fun, you know, whatever. Also, I think he had to go back and say he wasn't a real doctor.
Gotta love,
which is fun.
Gotta love when the head of global marketing has to declare in public that they are not a real doctor because they've been writing fake doctor's notes. It's
so fun. Also, Starfield has a bunch of accessibility issues. There's stories on that all over the place. Yep. Kotaku had one as well. You know, font sizes, everything from that to the ability, like just various sort of even button remappings and having them show up in all of the places, especially on the, I believe, Series X. So there's those issues as well. And of course, then you have people turning the ship modding into just beautiful works of unhittable art. What's the story, Will?
So it turns out that the AI in Starfield is very straightforward. It is very direct. It always aims for the middle of your ship. But
what's the solution to that? What could you possibly do to win a star battle for a game that shoots the middle of your ship?
What if you just made a ship with no middle, Matt?
What if you made a ship with no middle?
So there's a way that you can make a ship that's like a hollow cube, essentially, where like it runs along the outsides and it's all corners, and the enemy just shoots right through the middle. So as long as they're not looking at one of your edges, right? They can't hit you. So as long as you look straight at the enemy, they'll just shoot straight through the middle of the ship and they'll never hit you.
It's the Jimmy Eat world of starships, and I am absolutely here for it.
Yeah.
So there's lots going on in the oeuvre of Starfield, but since Will and I have not played it,
egg.
What?
Oeuvre?
Yeah.
Egg?
Yeah, in the egg of Starfield.
Okay.
Yeah, Starfield egg. That's how do you think we got? Which came first, Will?
Starfield chicken or the Starfield egg?
The Starfield or the egg?
No, that's right. Yeah, it seems correct. All right, never mind. Withdrawn.
Again,
continue.
Expert.
Yeah.
Expert. Since Will and I haven't played it, the thing that I've been noticing, just with all of the disparate stories that are just piling on it, and Brad, Janet, etc., please chime in here if you're live on Twitch or in the comments down below if you're watching a day later. The majority of the stories I come across, or the tweets, or the posts, or whatever, seem to be fixated, just purely enamored with the idea of, wait, hold on. Is Starfield good? Or is Starfield bad?
Right.
And that discourse alone, weirdly, and it's not, I would posit it's not even fair to Starfield the game from a me perspective, has kind of poisoned my want to play it.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if I've ever sort of experienced that this hard with a game this big. And of course there's time constraints and a couple other things, but like we were talking before the show, this game should be right up our alley.
Yeah.
We love space exploration. We've both played Bethesda games a decent amount back in the day.
You have
you not?
I don't like
I've played enough for both of us.
Yeah, right. I personally have never found a Bethesda game that I've wanted to play for more than 10 minutes. I have watched Matt...
I thought you did. Oh, maybe because we were in Skyrim together. That's right.
I have watched Matt play Skyrim for longer than I have played all Bethesda games in summation.
All right. There we go. Oh yeah, and I'm Kyle. The whole woke nonsense. I totally get that. That I just can't. I can't even.
Yeah.
I can't engage with that.
We should probably explain that in very brief in case people missed it.
Yeah.
Because you can create your own character, the game asks you, how you would like to be addressed, what pronouns you would like to be used. This apparently is enough to send people into unfathomable, incalculable rage. And
to be clear, this is obviously the people who fly into the rage's problem, of course. Then the news cycles pick it up and it becomes a bigger thing that I feel like because that's what gets clicks, is this sort of, again, it's the culture war crap is all over the damn place. There's a stupid argument. You're making a character. It's asking you how you'd like to be addressed. The end. Like, it's insane that anyone would be actually upset about that.
Yeah.
It gotta really, I don't know.
I feel like a lot of it was people looking to enter the news cycle with Starfield in a way that, like, they just wanted to be noticed, right? It feels very much like a Notice Me play. And, like, you know what? Like, if that's how you want to be noticed, it's working, but, like,
whatever. I don't care. Like, so I don't know. Chat, how are you feeling about Starfield in general? Are you playing it? Are you waiting for it? Are you not excited about it at all? Like, where is everyone sort of landing on this? Because sorry.
I just had a thought, which is, if you're a big fan of Bethesda games, you probably didn't rush to play this. Like, if primarily what you play is Bethesda games, you've got a good long time until the next Bethesda game comes out. Like, all Bethesda games, like, feel like a marathon, right? At this point, right? It's Skyrim and then this. Fallout 76 wasn't it? Like, not good, bad, just, like, wasn't the thing, right?
I mean, I don't know about I think that I don't know if that's how, at least I can only speak for myself, not consumers in general. I'm busting this one out. As a consumer scientist,
that's right.
I think that I have been hyped enough about a company whose games come out that I'll just be like, oh, I love their stuff. I'll get it. Like, I've done that in the past. I don't think it's the wisest purchasing decision, but I've definitely done it. So, like, I feel like a lot of I feel like people would still jump on, but then I also wonder what a Bethesda fan is. Like, because yes, can you look at Elder Scrolls and Fallout and their iterations moving forward and been like, yeah, that's a Bethesda game. It's a open world RPG that's full of jank, and the characters are kind of wooden, but the stories tend to be really, really good, and it gives you the illusion of a bunch of choice, right? I don't know. And from what I've heard, again, from Starfield, one of the big things that seems to be busted in a lot of people's minds is that sense of exploration, because you do just and again, I have not played this. Please correct me if I am wrong. But the stories that I've been hearing has been, oh, well, you like click on the map where you want to go to the planet, and then you just go to that planet.
Yes. It's fast travel, the game.
But, like, maybe there's an element that we're not seeing or that we haven't come across, or I don't know.
Well, in that particular instance, you can go to Pluto later on. Someone flew to Pluto directly, and it does not work. You fly all of the way to Pluto directly. It takes 7 hours in game, and you essentially are just flying straight. And then you clip into the skybox for Pluto, and then that's just it. You're just there. Like, you can't land. Like, you can't go there that way, so it is a little bit of, like, fast travel-y.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember when, even on this show, when Starfield had its, like, big trailer, like, its big, I thought it was the best possible corporate commercial you could do for this game. I was getting more and more hyped for it. And then as it got released and I couldn't play it, launch day because I was out at PAX, and I was just reading more and more about it, the conversation itself seemed to make me less and less excited for it. And I don't think I've ever felt that before. So it was just sort of an odd...
As sort of an outside observer, the conversation... Because, like, I was never going to play Starfield, right? Let's be very clear. Not my game. Doesn't mean it's bad, just not the kind of game that I'm interested in playing or spending this amount of money on, right? I guess I could get it on Game Pass, but whatever. I don't currently have Game Pass because I object permanence it out of existence and then end up paying for something I'm not using.
Yeah, I mean that's literally the business model, Will.
It is actually the business model. I don't like participating in that. For me, it doesn't mean it's bad. I just don't do it. Yeah. The conversation that I've seen has been more middling, I think, than any of the other, that at least in our spaces, in the spaces that I frequent, than any of the other major releases this year. So I'm going to put this up against the last two that I did end up playing and did participate in, which is Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3. The conversation has been more mid. The conversation has been more tempered. The conversation has been more beige, I guess.
Which conversation? Starfield's in comparison?
Yeah, Starfield's in comparison to both of the other two. Like it's not good or bad. It just is. Yeah, it's a Bethesda game. Great.
It's kind of interesting too. So like if you look at Tears of the Kingdom and you look at Baldur's Gate, two games that I do really love. The conversations were insanely positive. Like, to the point where any critique of any of those games was often met with people, like, attacking those critiquers, and that's, I think, never good. There's definitely issues with both Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3.
Sure.
Like, there's no such thing as a perfect experience, and I think that there are things that could be improved upon on both. I love them both entirely, and I will keep playing them for a very long time. The conversation around Starfield is so back and forth, and so, like, the previous two games, Tears and Baldur's Gate 3, feel like the conversation was the quality, even though I think there were some tiny things that could be adjusted or whatever for my own personal preferences, the quality was never in question.
Yeah.
And that was never the conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas for Starfield, it feels like the entirety of the conversation is this game worth it? And I will straight up say, I 1,000% do think it is worth it. Like, I think this is a game that's going to speak to a lot of people. And it seems to have, but the weird thing is the conversation is so around, like, trying to find some imaginary ability to say if game good or game bad.
Yeah. I think that's also deeply rooted in the difference between the development studios, right? On one hand, you have Nintendo and Larian. Right? And Larian isn't just Larian. Larian is Larian with all of early access for Baldur's Gate 3 behind it, right? With all of the promises for improved quality and feedback from players and all of that, right? So you've got those two studios up against Bethesda. And Bethesda has a track record for making games that people love in spite of glaring flaws, right? And so the conversation is sort of like, well, are the glaring flaws, which everyone kind of assumed would be there, and I don't actually think shook out. Everyone just kind of assumed it was going to be a buggy mess at launch. And so the question has come up.
And it really wasn't a buggy mess. Starfield wasn't a buggy mess at launch.
It wasn't. There were lots of people, I think I included at least at one point, was like, yeah, it's a Bethesda game. It's going to launch like an unplayable pile of mess, and that's okay, because they'll fix it eventually, right? And I was wrong about that, right? Like, it's not had a huge number of necessary problems, other than like that AI ship thing, which is funny more than it's game breaking.
Yeah, it's great. That's players outsmarting the thing, and that's wonderful. I'll finish off my thought with this. I feel like with Skyrim and Fallout, the reason why beyond the jank they are just staples in so many gamers' hearts, gamer hearts, don't lose them all. Yeah, no, Will still's got it. Is because the worlds themselves, and I honestly equate this to more the writing and the art design than the mechanics of how they are played, are so lovely that you're willing to overlook the jank and the difficulties in things because you care so much about the world that you are exploring. Maybe that exists for Starfield. I have not heard one single story, and I've been reading a lot on it, about a particular NPC or a quest or some sort of story element that has caught people and moved them. Correct me, please. If you've had one, I want to hear it. I want to get more excited for when I eventually play this game.
Yeah.
But like, that's not the story. You're not getting either small, like I would say like in environment stories, like the classic is like finding skeletons in different positions in Fallout and finding a note like in a schoolhouse and figuring out what happened, like those sort of things. Or in Skyrim, I mean, I just cared about that place. Yeah. And from the moment I booted it up, 13, 12, whatever years ago it came out. And I haven't heard that yet. And maybe it's because this game is huge and it doesn't get there. And maybe it's because one of the people making it said, oh, it really gets good, like 130 hours in or whatever. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I'm curious to see where this goes. And we would have been remiss on our totally official top 5 gaming stories of the week if we did not play Starfield's launch.
Correct.
At number 5.
Right. Following up at number 4, it's something that was spotted in the wild. Something we should all be aware of, if not excited for, but aware of. It's not this exact thing.
It's this exact thing.
It's not. No, Matt.
It's this. Okay. It's this exact thing.
The Nintendo Switch 2 was spotted in the wild at Gamescom.
It's not this exact thing.
It's not. It doesn't look like this. Don't worry, chat. It's not a Virtual Boy remade for the current generation.
It's funny. It's a Switch 2, so the controllers come apart, right? And then you put them on your ears.
No.
You hang them.
Now you're just lying to people on the internet. Anyway, so the Gamescom Nintendo booth apparently had a Switch 2 a demo section for developers to try things at. There was a beefed up version of Breath of the Wild. That is not saying that we will get a Switch 2 copy of port of Breath of the Wild. They were using Breath of the Wild as a well-known piece of stuff to do a tech demo for how much better the Switch 2 is than the Switch 1. But this goes back to that earlier story about Nintendo patenting Hall joysticks or Hall effect joysticks. Yep. There's a rumor that the reason that they're doing that is that they may be included in the Switch 2. That
feels
likely, probable, but not far from certain. So Matt, are we excited about the prospect of needing to buy Switch 2? People are saying sometime next year.
So right now, if it is just a beefier Switch, no.
Okay.
Switch is plenty beefy for me at this point. The OLED is gorgeous. All the games that I play on it play fine. Yep. I think every once in a while I notice a load time issue, but like it doesn't matter to me. I don't think I want, and until the games come out that need to be played on it, and I want it for that reason, you know what I mean? But like conceptually, I don't really want a beefier Switch. I think if I wanted a beefier Switch, I'd get a Steam Deck.
Yeah, I think that it suffers from the killer app problem, right? Which is that the Switch is only good because of the games that run on it, right? Like, because it's part of an exclusive library, we're at the point where, like, we're not going to play anything that isn't a Switch exclusive on the Switch.
Right. Well,
right?
I do. I actually, oddly enough, I will say I do that. I do. And the reason I did that before, especially before the Steam Deck came out, and we'll talk about Ashley's question in a second, was because there were the type of games I knew I'd want to play on the go, and the Steam Deck wasn't even a thing yet. So like Hollow Knight I have on the Switch.
That's fair.
Like Cult of the Lamb I have on the Switch. So there are many games that I actually wait for the Switch port for before I buy. Because I want the portability, and I know that it doesn't need to be an absolute graphics powerhouse to pull that off. In fact, that might even put me into the category of the reason why I'm not quite ready for an exact beefed up Switch 2 is so far that's the reason why I've been getting this. I buy games on it that I don't need the fidelity of something crazy like that. Again, killer app coming out, that changes everything.
Yeah.
To Ashley's question that was popping up a second ago, I don't believe they're going to call it the Switch 2.
But it's similar, from our understanding, it's similar form factor and control scheme.
If they do just do an updated Switch, though, I could see them calling it something dumb like the Switch EX or the Switch whatever. Like, they've done that with Game Boys. Like, I can totally see that being a thing. I would prefer, and the reason why I made this dumb graphic, not for an actual Virtual Boy 2, but like, I would prefer that whatever Nintendo's next console is something different. I really like when they take different swings.
The Wii was a big different swing and did phenomenally, legendarily phenomenally.
And they're good at taking swings statistically. Yep. Obviously, this swing wasn't great, and the Wii U wasn't great. But like, and I'm just saying sales numbers. I'm not even saying quality of hardware or software.
Yeah.
It's marketing. So, what I also kind of, I don't know, this is too much, and they're not going to do this. What I wouldn't mind seeing would be like, okay, you want the Switch EX? Well, here it is. But also, here's our like home thing or something different, like the VR, AR, whatever, like something else to like go with it. Maybe not even with it, just different feelings of things. Like, because right now, Nintendo's a bit at a focal point in the sense that, like, for the longest time, they had their home consoles and they had their portables, and they both did pretty well. They've now slammed those markets together. And I do know, like, the Switch Lite or different things that are sort of marketed like that you don't plug into a dock to do, or not the Switch Lite. There was the one that looks like a triangle that's like, it doesn't plug in. It's like flat.
Yeah.
My point being, I wonder what that's doing to their, like, if they care or not. Like, if they sell double the things, that it doesn't matter that it's two different products that they're cannibalizing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think only time will tell. Lots of people, we know nothing about its capabilities or anything other than it is beefier than the Switch, which is like it's not a lot, right?
Which is also why, I think I was excited to talk about this as our number 4, because, like, even though there's not any information on it, the fact that people are like, oh yeah, we're seeing devs are looking at what this thing can do.
Yep.
Means it exists, which means it's coming.
I really, really, truly hope that it is just a beefier Switch. Like, by that I mean it has the same operating system and just has more resources at its disposal. That is my true and sincere hope, because that will mean that they don't need to leave the games behind. You can keep the same Switch account. You can move all of your games over. You can do all of those things. Just give us more horsepower, right? Let it keep up with the curve of technology, and that's it. That's all it needs. We no longer need to have, I'm kind of opposite of you. We no longer, I think, need to have major innovation in this space, right? We've got kind of 2 tracks, right? One of them is this portable thing, right? That Asus, I think it's Asus, right? The Asus ROG handheld and the Steam Deck and the Switch occupy, and that's fine and good and excellent. And they are part of that ecosystem. And then we've got the console/PC thing, right? And it's got its own little niche in that. But, like, just make it beefier. It's doing fine. We don't need anything radical, right? We just need one that runs better and will run stuff at 60 frames.
It's funny. I don't know. I do. I feel like I'm on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. And actually, you can let us know either in chat right now or in the comments whether or not you agree with myself or Will. I have never had... It's funny. Maybe it's because I'm just not looking for the horsepower. Like, sure. I'm like, I understand what you are, little Switch. And, like, it's good. Because I know it. I've never been in a Switch game and been like, oh, man. Let me rephrase. I've never looked at a Switch game's graphics or performance and thought, man, this sucks because it's on the Switch. Yeah. And you know why I've thought that? It's because we get games like Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
You can see what the thing is capable of if given enough time and love, and it's harder to do.
Yeah. I have like a weird example for mine.
Yeah.
I consistently wish Pokemon Unite ran better. Like, when I play Pokemon Unite.
Sure.
That's like the one that, like, for me just isn't quite there.
And some of the problems I have with Nintendo, I feel like, are institutional rather than hardware based, like the way that they handle multiplayer stuff and their online services, and like the way they handle games you own digitally, like and those.
someone in Brad mentioned hoping that they do online stuff better. They won't, because they don't want to, because they're happy, right? They're happy with where they're at in online because it exposes them. We actually just did a whole design club, which will be out in a couple weeks, probably on YouTube, or it was here on Twitch last week, where we talked about the risks that platforms are exposed to, and how much risk companies are willing to accept. And Nintendo is very careful about not accepting undue risk, and multiplayer is presents a lot of risk in terms of what their obligations to moderate are, right? They're happy with what they're doing, right? I know you're not, but like they are.
Yeah, they are. And actually, I'm not. I promise, Will, I'm not just putting this up because Boberation agrees with me. But I am doing it for that. But also, not getting a Steam Deck without the Switch, and I'd rather keep playing. So on that point, I would even say that we might not even get. Yeah, that's the point. Like, I don't think we would have the Switch if the Wii U didn't exist.
I agree.
And so that's why I feel like even if there is innovation, like this is not to discount what you want from a portable handheld Nintendo system.
Yeah.
Because more power would always be good. I also want them, I hope they don't fall into the line of just being like, well, this is really working, so just put a stronger chip and some faster RAM and, yada, yada, yada. Like, I want them to get weird. I want them to try dumb stuff, because even if that one doesn't hit, statistically, it like they learn from it and they have enough of a war chest to do something cool later down the line.
Yeah.
I think the Switch, it's funny. Right now, gun to my head, what would I say my favorite current console is? And I think I'd still go PS5, but I just love the way it runs and its operating system and how it functions. But I think I've had more moments of like unfettered joy using the Switch in all of the places that you can use it. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm glad that some news is cracking, and I'm also glad there's many different points of view about like the either need or want of this and why.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving to number 3, which is number 3 for a very specific reason.
Yes.
It's E3. So
specifically, not this wonderful image from the year 2000. I was looking up images of E3, and they were all so boring coming up like the last couple of years. I was like, what was E3 doing in the year 2000? And then we found this. Found whatever this was.
Yeah. Love it. It's great. It's awesome. Yeah. All right. So, E3 and the current company that runs the actual convention, right?
Yes.
So there are two parts to this, right? There's the company that puts everything on and does all of the like the events and everything, and then there's the company that like sells tickets and does security and gets people in.
Puts the show on.
Right. Yeah. Correct. That's been
makes the show function. Yeah. Reedpop.
Yeah, that's been Reedpop, and Reedpop runs a whole bunch of stuff, including PAX. But they have parted ways, according to a mutual press release, and E3 has also said that they're still totally going to have E3 2024, but not at the LA Convention Center. So
okay.
Yeah, right. So I've heard an awful lot of people say that like that it's just dead, right? That like this is it. This is E3 being dead. This is dead as a doornail. So I guess I have two questions, which is, do we agree? And number two, almost more importantly, do we care? Like E3 is important for the industry insiders, and for
it was until around what 2010, 8, whatever, when they just opened it up. I don't know the years, but it used to feel like something when I was a kid looking at EGM or something, or watching X Play or G4. It seemed like something that was like unattainable, where if you made video games or if you were in video game press, you went to this thing and you talked to other people in it, and you got to show off things to industry folks and get the industry excited, and it generated sort of industry buzz and partnerships and etc. Right? Mm-hmm. Then they opened it like a regular convention after, I think, I might be getting my dates wrong, but it feels like after the success of like more fan-facing conventions like Comic-Con and PAX and a couple other things. And then they tried turning it into a hybrid of that. And then neither party, both fans or industry, were happy with it. And then it just sort of like middled along until it sort of was in a rough spot before the pandemic. And now I don't know. Before, for years, I could tell you what E3 was. I could tell you what PAX is. I could tell you what Gen Con is. I could tell you what MagFest is. I can tell you why these conventions exist.
Yep. I
don't know what E3 is anymore. They haven't, like, so I don't know. I never want things that people enjoy and bring people together to go away.
Yeah.
I would like E3 to like tell me exactly what its goals are.
Yeah.
What are your intentions with my attention?
Right. No, I think that's very fair, right? Especially with them. I perceive this as a downsize. Right? It may be an attempt to return to being a industry convention rather than being a fan-facing convention, right? But like, I don't know. I feel like this like limping along and like, oh, we're totally gonna do it. It's just a smaller convention center. Don't pay attention to that thing is the problem, right? Like, I would like a concrete mission statement from E3 that's like, yes, we are committing to do the following things. Because, like, whether or not I like those things, now at least I know where you're going. We'll talk a little bit about big keynotes where people say things that I don't really like in a little bit.
Sure.
But I don't know. I think this is very much like a big old pay attention to E3 and be prepared to put on your taking off caps, because this, at least in my eyes, cannot bode well.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like there are other, and again, the ones I haven't quite been to, but like RC Fox asked, I wonder if there are actual game development conventions where people learn about new techniques and not just shove commercials in your face. I feel like a lot of the small to mid ones are.
Yep.
What just happened? Is Gamescom? What, I don't remember.
Gamescom is in Germany, and yes,
yeah. It is. Is it fan facing or is it?
It is both. There is a big fan facing component, but there are also we talked about it briefly.
GDC.
Yeah. There's also
Damon Works.
Yep. There's GDC. And then there are like a lot of like PAX and the like. While they don't debut as many things, there are still booths and there are still opportunities for developers to meet with people and to get feedback, right? Like a lot of the developers in the indie mega booth are there to get product testing done and to network with people and to maybe find I've actually, when I've told people that I work for a gaming channel, they're like, hey, do you know of any publishers? Right? And I'm like, I have talked about publishers with game devs at those conventions, kind of things, right?
PAX is really good. They have two things. They have the Indie Mega booth, which is, and I love seeing folks like David and Morgan from Hyde's Haunt and Seek. I saw them this year again. They instituted some really cool changes and small things, and they were saying how much fun they had. Actually, sorry, Will, I didn't even tell you this. They were saying how much fun they had on the stream and how they really enjoyed the back and forth and like the insight that we brought to it, and the game's looking great. Like,
it's great.
So there's the Indie Mega booth, which has all of the indies, and then they have PAX Rising, which is sort of what I believe is basically like, here's 10 games or 12 games that we put not even in its own little section, but like in its tiny little section in the middle of all of the. It's like almost like stuff that's like graduated, I believe, from the Indie Mega booth into like, okay, now these are ready to be shown fully to publishers. Let's go. Like, that's what it feels like anyway. And so PAX does do a small amount. PAX does a nice thing because it puts it allows you to put in the correct measurements, I believe, all of this indie stuff next to Nintendo's Pokemon Center or Atlas or any of these other sort of like I was like going through the map in my head, Devolver. Like, it's just nice because then it for industry people who are at PAX for various different reasons walking around, they see a game that looks interesting to them and it's right next to Square Enix. You're like, oh, in your brain, you're going to want to go, if you're looking for titles to publish or something like it's just, that's a really nice way to do it. E3 starting, and PAX started as a fan convention. I think it's easier to go fan convention into fans like it so much that legitimate, like not legitimate, but like industry folks start becoming like the fans that are in the industry make it a thing. I think it's harder for what E3 tried to do to go from pure industry when fans were looking in and going like, wow, that looks awesome. And then you let all the fans in, myself included. And then like I could see how the industry folks might be like, well, this was our thing. Like, and then getting confused about the identity. So
I agree.
I think that they'll probably maybe do a series of like announcements or like online things this year or 2024. That feels right while they get their ducks in a row.
Yep.
Again, don't want it to go away, but I want to be very clear on what their offering is.
Yep. Speaking of things, however, that are going away, at number 2 this week, we have rather an odd story. It's sort of a smallish story. It's the story of Only Up.
Yes.
So, Only Up is was, past tense, a one-person developer project that had a long and complicated history with Steam. And the it's fascinating. It got real big on Twitch. Lots of people wanted to buy it. It got hit with DMCA claims over using other people's assets. And there was a whole kerfuffle about that. And now it's gone because the creator has requested that it just be gone, that it is pulled down, that they can't do, like, they just wanted to make a fun, silly little test project game for themselves. And they had no idea that it was going to go this big or this far. And at their request, it has been pulled from Steam. Quote, they want to, I want to put the game behind me. They said that they need peace of mind and healing, and they've deleted their Twitter account, and they just, that's it. Yeah. It's gone.
This story, by the way, comes to us from PC Gamer, Molly Taylor over there. And yeah, it's just an interesting look at, I think, the human side of game development. Yeah. This is a one-person team who I think was overwhelmed with success, dealing with a lot of myriad of issues of either the copyright stuff or I think there was like NFT imagery in the game. Like, yep, I don't think it was actually like NFT specifically, but like, you know, the JPEGs that they are. There was a lot of issues, and I think the popularity of it and probably the vocal fan base that is always so fair and balanced when it comes to a game's being released, being pushed under one person who made this as sort of a learning exercise in game dev, is a lot. Yeah. And it's funny. I actually am very disappointed I never played this game. I feel like this is the kind of game that I would vibe with very hard. But as we've said many times on this program and across the channel, no, there's not a game that's so good that it's worth someone's mental health. Like,
right.
I feel happy for SEKR Games, I believe is the dev. It's a ballsy move, and it's the right move, it feels like. And they're not scared away from game dev, but they want to go. They've learned a lot, need to take some time, maybe, you know, work on their skills or themselves or whatever, and just get some calm non-damaged, and then they'll jump right back in using what they've learned to make even better stuff. Like, I think it's okay for stuff like this to go away. Yeah.
Like, it is. That's right, Zozo. Yeah, I just noticed the tail come in off the edge, and I was like, oh, it's Zoe. Yeah, I think chat's correctly pointing out, right, that he's won capitalism, right? Probably true. Some people are saying that, like, the whole thing with crypto and everything else has marred their understanding of the game. That's true. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I do not know enough to comment on the veracity of those claims.
Do we know how much it's sold? I actually imagine he doesn't have exit, or they don't have exit capitalism money. But I don't know fully.
Yep. Let's look for only up.
The average price over the last 6 months was $8.09. So I'm guessing it probably came out at $10 or $15. Did anyone buy it in chat? Does anyone have it like full price or whatever when it first came out?
Full price was $10 for most of the summer, it looks like.
Yeah, they could take a break from capitalism to be sure. They've won for a minute. They've won the time to take care of themselves, which is more than most of us can say.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. A lot of people saying that I don't know the sales numbers on it.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
But,
okay, so I have not read enough about like the allegations against the game for like stealing more than just the simple assets that were resolved in the earlier kerfuffle the last time we covered Only Up when it got taken down and then put back up. So if there are further allegations, then like that's a potential thing.
And they'll have to deal with that moving forward, because even though the game is down, I believe depending on the money, if they made, let's even say for the sake of argument, that there's a lot of asset chicanery, and they did make exit capitalism money, people are going to come for that.
Right, yeah. And I'm sure we'll hear some about that. They don't intend to leave dev entirely. They have a new game upcoming, which they've got a working title for. They're going to take their time and come out with it when it's good and ready, which I think is the absolute best timeline.
Yeah. Damon makes a good point too. Depends on what capitalism they are dealing with.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you get there's lots of stuff. So it's very interesting to see this sort of saga come to a close in this fashion. Steam Spy says 250,000 sales.
Okay.
So
let's say, like, what's Steam's cut? I'm just 30. Curious if we can armchair math this.
Right, so it's like $7 per. Right, at 250,000 sales, and then taxes for wherever you are.
Yeah, so over $1 million. Probably when all's said and done, probably like, I don't know, 1.4 or something like that.
Yeah, 1.5. A lot. You can do quite a lot with 1.4. So yeah, we'll see how we'll see if anything comes of this in the future. But this is kind of the end of Only Up, and maybe the beginning of something else. Maybe we'll keep an ear out for what replaces it, what follows next. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to the number one story of the week.
Are you ready? Are you ready, chat? This is
prepared.
Definitively the most important story in all of gaming news last week, the week that Starfield came out, the week that the Switch 2 was being used behind closed doors to work on, to show devs, the week that E3 announced its split with Reedpop, the week that Only Up is no longer for sale. Our number one story is apparently they want us to date in Roblox.
Yeah, so that sound sums it up for me. All right, so The Verge has a really great article on this. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it in the comments or in chat here, Brad. But okay,
go for it, Will. You got this.
I'm gonna say, oh boy, yeah.
I'm writing down what we need to write in the show notes while we're doing.
Right, yeah. So they really don't want to be just an app for kids anymore because, this aesthetic screams highly regulated adult game. And so one of the things that they're doing is...
I left my Legos in the Easy Bake Oven.
One of the things that they're doing is that one of their ideas to become like a more centralized platform for people's lives is that as people age out of Roblox, like they want to help they want to retain those users somehow. So they're turning their current big pitch is to do in part some age-gated dating. So important. Let's get this very straight right off the bat. Their claim is that everyone who is involved in the online dating will need to be verified as being at least 17 years old. That's not the right number for a lot of places.
Let's try again.
Right. But their slide at their keynote says that in order to participate in the adult experiences, you need to be at least 17 years old.
Yeah. Well, let's finish this. That I have a overall note story
thing. This is not their only push. This is like the biggest and most like headline worthy.
The weirdest
push.
one. So something that Roblox does, and I wasn't even aware of this, but apparently they did it 5 years ago, and then at a keynote announced their sort of success rate of what I'm going to say, and they announced their next 10 things. Basically, they're like, hey, in the next 5 years, we really want to see this.
Yeah.
And they'll list 10 bullet points, right, of what they want to see for their company.
Yep.
And I believe the last one, it made 58% of their goals. Again, from the article, it says including 1 million concurrent players in a Roblox game, having a Roblox developer earn more than 50 million in a year, and having a 100-person company developing on Roblox. Those were goals they set at a keynote that they did hit in their 5-year span. One of the misses they said, or a couple of them, was including a U.S. president mentioning their Roblox avatar on camera, and Tesla using Roblox developers in a promotional effort. Those things did not come to pass in the last 5 years.
Because, Biden...
Joe Biden and Donald Trump, big into Roblox.
Yeah, just...
Anyway.
According to AI videos, they're big into Minecraft. But no.
That is true. So I want to read, because I think it's kind of interesting. I'd like to read, if it's okay, the 10 that they announced this year.
Yeah.
Because the dating one is in there. Okay. So number 10, a Fortune 500 company will use Roblox, the experience, as part of their recruiting process. Number 9, a school will integrate a full K-12 curriculum with Roblox, including language classes with schools in other countries and virtual field trips. Number 8 is the dating one for 17-plus verified people in 17-plus experiences. Thousands of adults, will meet for the first time in Roblox dating experience and subsequently form real-life relationships. Number 7, Roblox employees will spend more time using Roblox for remote meetings than with video. That one's kind of a gimme, I think, because you could just mandate that. Number 6, we will share a universal civility metric and show that for most players, it increases over time. Interesting. I'd like to go back to that one in a minute. Number 5, some Roblox creators will make more money from selling physical merchandise on Roblox than virtual merchandise. Number 4, Roblox will be a frequent communication channel for my family, meaning I think just the general family. Number 3, a top fashion designer will be discovered on Roblox without having any experience in physical I didn't read that one before. I must have skipped it. Number 2, a musician will perform live to over 1 million people on Roblox using a phone for motion capture. And number 1, a Roblox developer will be valued at $1 billion.
So they really want to be the next metaverse.
Look, I like every company, they got some issues. I don't like a lot of these things on their exercise. However, I like the exercise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I like the idea of setting lofty, weird goals. And they even say they know they're not going to hit all these. I want to be very clear. They're not like 5 years, we're doing all of it. They're like, their goal, I think, is between 60 and 70% of that done in 5 years. And I think that is despite the fact I do not agree with many of the things, that's a good goal to have. Like, remember how we were talking about just wanting to know the direction of E3?
Yeah.
This tells us the direction of Roblox, right? Like, it's too many directions in my opinion, and it's going whatever, but we know what the company wants to do. Mm-hmm. They're in a difficult spot. Their product is widely seen and used by underage folks. Yep. And they are going to age out. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of other brighter, shinier adult toys across the span of the internet to do a lot of these things.
Right. They're competing, right? They have to go in new angles, right? Because otherwise kids are going to age out into Fortnite or Valorant or League or an MMO or whatever, right? Like if it's not offering substantially different new ongoing experiences that they can't get in those places, people will age out, right? Yeah. And then there's some questions in chat that we should probably clarify.
Let's do it.
They don't mean so one of them is the question of what it means for a Roblox developer to be valued at $1 billion. They mean someone who is developing content for their platform, not they themselves.
Right. Like you can build and make full games in Roblox and sell them.
Right. Yeah. So that's probably what they mean. A lot of these seem like problems that are solved by just paying someone a bunch of money to do them, though. Like a lot of these feel like we set up this goal because we can do it, right? Well, they'll just pay Ed Sheeran to perform in Roblox and then offer an incentive to have people to show up.
Yeah, I mean, let's even go. A Fortune 500 company will use Roblox experience as part of their recruitment process. You could actually easily pay a Fortune 500 company to do that. It's an easy thing to do. I don't know what that buys. I mean, I guess that sort of puts them in a little bit more legitimate space in an adult world, but sure. A school will integrate a full 12K curriculum with Roblox, including language classes, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's actually as possible. Like incorporating a full curriculum for across the entirety of.
You could pay a private experimental school to do it, though.
Sure. There's ways around it. I feel as though.
Yeah.
It will have an issue. The dating thing, they can just do that. I don't think it. I don't.
It's not that is not success based, right?
No, they'll do it and then they'll see.
Yep.
I don't like it. Number 7, a Roblox employee spending more time using Roblox for meetings. They could do that tomorrow. Will share a universal civility metric and show for the first time that most players it will increase over time. And I think what they mean is, this is the interesting part. What is a civility metric? What does it take into account? I mean, they can just do that and say it's done and they've done it, but like, what would that mean? Does it mean, and maybe they go into it more in detail, so I don't want to, poo-poo on that idea too much, but like, is that the amount of complaints of toxic play environments?
Right.
Goes down over time. The amount of people they have to block or ban, like that's a good thing to do. I like that it's on the list. Some Roblox creators will make more money selling physical merchandise on Roblox than virtual. I mean, that's a tricky one you could game, but it wouldn't look good on your presentation.
No.
You know what I mean? So that seems, if they want to become a physical marketplace, that seems like a good goal to have on their list.
Yeah.
Roblox will be a frequent communication channel for my family. Again, kind of lofty, but there's better ways to communicate with your family.
Only possible now because millennials are parents. Right? Like, can you imagine trying to get like a Gen X or a Boomer parent to like log into Roblox to talk with their kids?
1,000%. But the interesting thing is, and this is what gets me about the entirety of this exercise, Will, if they focus on all of these things to like get the new olds, right?
Yeah, right.
They're not going to be focusing on retaining what is interesting and new to their core audience of young people. So then you're going to get your parent being like, let's hang out in Roblox. And they're going to be like, I'm on Flixel Sticks. And you're going to be like, what the hell is that? Like, it's because Flixel Sticks, as we all know, is way cooler than Roblox, y'all. If you haven't checked out Flixel Sticks, the platform I just made up.
Incoming Google spike for Flixel Sticks.
Flixel Sticks. Yeah. I hope Flixel Sticks doesn't exist already.
OC, please do not steal.
Please and thanks. And then lastly, I as well go too quick. The fashion designer thing, if Jamie was here, she'd punch this computer screen. Like, it's just... like, a top fashion designer will be discovered on Roblox. That's possible. Without having any experience in physical fashion?
No.
A musician will perform is the easy one. You'd mentioned Ed Sheeran, and a Roblox developer will be valued at $1 billion. I think that one could be skirted by a developer that does multiple things and they have a successful Roblox platform.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a lot of talking at you, and I apologize. But like, this is a weird, nuanced. This is a large company in the gaming space.
Yep.
Pivoting in 1,000 different directions.
Right. It's just that one of them is for a company that has a perception of not keeping kids safe. One of them is a thing that many people perceive to be making kids even less safe. Right? Like that's kind of the ongoing, that's the big thing. That's why I think that sticks out to me is that I have not looked into all of the allegations against Roblox about child development and child labor and the ways that kids spend their time and monetize, right? I am not an expert on that. Did not have time to do that. However, I am aware that those allegations against Roblox exist. And my perception of those allegations, combined with my perception and my feelings about their ability to protect people's privacy and to do online dating, and then the weird carve-out for 17-year-olds, all just set off big old alarm bells in my head for like, this is not... That part in particular does not feel good to me.
Yeah, it doesn't... It does, like, out of all of the 10 goals, that one feels the most disparate, weirdly.
Yeah.
It's a completely, like, even from the fashion one, because at least the fashion one is about designing something.
Right.
Right? I don't play Roblox. I don't, I'm sure I know kids who do play Roblox, but I've never spoken about Roblox. But like, I don't know the thing there. I do know that people can develop friendships and bonds through online play, through my time with World of Warcraft or any of that stuff, or just any game in general. But to then turn, like, the goal, how I would word that goal, if the goal is to make it feel like it's more than just a game for people to come play and build, and it has to be a social experience, like people can have real experiences, would be like, I don't know, not go into dating apps specifically, be like, someone will have married someone they met on Roblox, like when they age up to the appropriate level, like something like that, because then that at least shows that you're a cultural footprint, but you're not trying to be Tinder. Like,
I
can promise you, Flizzle Sticks, no dating.
Yeah, no dating.
No relationships, platonic or otherwise, of any kind.
In fact, it's just you sitting in a box by yourself.
Not even you.
It's just a box, empty box.
Flizzle Sticks. It's the next big thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
And I think DemonWorks does a really good job of summing up my general thought, which is introducing a dating to a game where the entire marketing and branding, etc., has been for kids, comes off incredibly sketchy, no matter how it's handled. And this was definitely handled poorly from a announcement perspective. Like, cramming this in with like 9 other growth goals, right? And just sort of like leaving it there feels incredibly weird and sketchy. Like, it feels like they're trying to get one over and like see how this reads, right? And like, I don't know. Not that.
And I will say this: what if they were really interested in moving into the space for whatever reason? They thought it was a cash cow or whatever, right? Let's see how your other more aged, new olds experiences, your adult experiences, play out first. And then in 5 years from now, you could be like, look at our concurrent 18 to 25 demographic. You know what? This might benefit them because we have them now. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for those reasons of we're going to be paying attention to this very carefully as it goes on. That has been our number one story of the week.
Yay, numbers! I love numbers.
Do you
love numbers? This episode and the questions coming up from you, dear Janet, and people on the Twitter sphere and other places, if you're watching on Nebula or elsewhere, these questions are brought to you by the numbers 1 through 5.
That's correct. Yeah, okay. So we've got a couple of feedbacks. This was from the episode 2 weeks ago because last week was PAX, and then there won't be an episode next week. So these questions will get answered in 2 weeks, and then we're done with that nonsense for a while, we hope.
Yes.
We hope.
Because fall is coming, and that means I don't have to go many places.
That seems good. All right. First off, from Akragi, today I learned that apparently neither Matt nor Will recognize the name Pete Hines. So, fun bonus, he's been Bethesda's director of PR and marketing since Morrowind, and also wrote some of the game manuals. Yeah, that was the guy who was like, yeah, it gets good after like 130 hours.
Did Pete? Oh, it was Pete who wrote the doctor's notes.
It was Pete who wrote the doctor's notes. Pete Hines, everybody, just doing a banger job of...
Honestly, here's the deal. If his job is to help sell games, he's doing a bang up job.
Yeah.
Like, no notes. Different opinions on things, but if that's the gig, rock and roll.
Yep. Okay, and then we were talking a lot about Steam reviews on Overwatch and other stuff. So this comes from to us from Skiver Zero. So a big reason for the thumbs up and negative review statement thing on Steam is that people regularly filter negative reviews and delete them or outright ban people who left them. So a large portion of the community has started leaving quote-unquote positive reviews that expose all of the flaws and suggest taking your money elsewhere. Because if the review is a thumbs up, it's less likely to be sanitized.
Positive.
Which is a really good point.
It is.
That people want their review to be read, and so the number also matters significantly less than the content of the review for people who are looking to have their reviews read. Yeah. Brad is currently a wall of Zoe emotes.
It's funny. I was trying to show Janet on the thing. Someone put a bunch of Zoe emotes, but put a word or two before it. So that we can put it actually in the thing. We can't just post on the record. We can't post just emotes.
Just emotes. And then we had a question from Oopsie444. We were talking about Dune 2 and Dune 2's delay. And they were asking, was Dune Part 1 even good for us? They felt like it was a constant state of rising action and conflict that never really paid off, and they were really unsatisfied, and they don't know if they're the only one. I was extremely satisfied with it, but I have also been a devotee of all of the versions of Dune since I was younger. I think Dune is Dune is very much not a Lord of the Rings or a Starship Troopers or something where a lot of the action is physical. Dune is very much a political and philosophical work, I think, beneath the layer of like, yo, we're out in the desert and we can ride giant worms and that's so cool, right? So like I felt like the rising action, like I also know what's coming, right? I don't think at this point any movie of Dune that comes out is for people who have not read the book Dune.
The issue with Dune, it's funny. I loved the first one, and I'm so psyched that they took the swing, not having the second one greenlit before they made and released the first one.
Green
half
cat.
Half cat.
That's why I'm in front of you, so I can.
So if she lies down, it will look right.
Yeah, correct. Except she won't because she's.
No, wait, bye.
Bye, Zoe.
She gone? No, she's not. She's just gonna sit here and meow. Yeah. The weird thing about sort of our media landscape and how it takes IP and throws them through the churn machine is everyone's looking to turn all of this IP into something that is purely mass market or like 4-quadrant filmmaking in a way. And Dune, you can see some elements of that, but there was a little bit of dial back to that. And I think that means that, and this is totally fine, that it won't connect with a lot of people. Yep. And this sounds like this maybe might be the dumbest thing I've said today. And I premiered Fizzle Sticks on this show, I want to point out.
In an impromptu fashion.
I want more art that not everyone loves. Like, I like more, larger stuff that is shown around, like, I just it makes everything better. Not everything has to be for me. Like I want that breadth.
I'm gonna go with to me for obvious reasons. This absolutely felt a ton like Blade Runner, the newer Blade Runner, right? Blade Runner 2049 for obvious directorial reasons. In that it does not do the best job in answering questions explicitly. It does a really great job of letting questions hang in the air, right? Or letting ideas hang in the air, or like giving time. And like, I like the rising action part too, because I like the idea of ending on like the cliffhanger tension, right? But that's just also a thing that like, I don't know. I don't like horror. I like suspense, right? I did an entire grad class on Hitchcock. Right?
Yeah.
I really like suspense. And so for me, it was great. All right. And then lastly, Matt, to your question about purchasing games and having access to them after digital storefront goes down, because we're talking about the demise of Xbox 360 storefront. Salutes in chat for the Xbox 360 storefront going away next year. The offline installers are available for every game purchased through GOG. Is that not common knowledge? And that comes to us from 2 technical dev.
Interesting. So I knew that was the case for games I've purchased on them before, but I did not know that was policy.
Yeah.
That's a cool policy.
Yeah, it is a cool archival thing. Part of it is like catalog, and part of it's accessibility, and part of it's like, I don't know about you, Matt. I've reached the threshold where I can no longer keep which games are on which platform straight in my brain. I need like a meta crawler engine to like help me find all of the games on all of the things. And I'm sure someone in Janet will suggest in the comments below exactly what that meta crawler is. But the mental work of finding the things that exactly fit all of my needs in the digital space it's just a lot.
Fizzle Sticks will do that. Is that what you want?
Yeah, that's
okay,
what I want.
That's what Fizzle Sticks tell Will where everything is. There we go. I got it.
Exactly.
So we'll fix it for you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Friends, thank you so much for coming to this experimental countdown episode of Extra Breakfast. Did our top 5 help you enjoy the way that we go through this? Did it amuse, entertain? Was it absolutely awful? Do you disagree with all of our ratings? Good. Comment that below for interaction for the algorithm.
The most important question I want answered in the comments.
Yes.
For our top 5 news stories in gaming this week.
Right.
Did number 6 shock you? I would like to know. Please let us know. Because otherwise, what's the point?
Right. Absolutely. 100%. All right, Matt. I think that is going to do it for our episode this week. Please lead us once again in our traditional outro. This is the one that's the same every week.
Every week. And if you don't know it by now, the only excuse could be that this is your first time here. Because it is so beloved, it is so iconic, it is so just burned into the retinas, nay, the souls of all who watch and listen to this show. So I will lead us one more time through this lovely gate into the rest of your day, which I hope is lovely, by the way. And until next crime we see you, just remember this. As a capitalism scientist, if you buy into Fizzle Sticks right now, I can guarantee a 13 gajillion point uptick in all of the Fluborbs before we actually go take it to the Stamachnian market. Now, you might think that that's a little bit crazy, but I have to remind you that do you remember when our predecessor, Muscle Flops, didn't quite make that mark? Well, we learned an absolute bajork ton about all of those numbers and science and stuff, so give money now, please.
Hi, everyone.
Money! I love everyone in chat. Where do I sign?
Bye.
Wow. All right. I got a business on my hands.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It was retro vocabulator levels of technobabble.
Yeah,
Right.
I was trying to just finagle. How'd everyone like that? Did that